Rooted. I am Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher, 33, sporting the Metallica Master of Puppets t-shirt today. Master of Puppets being one of my favorite albums from the great heavy metal band Metallica. And on this particular album, there's a song called The Thing That Should Not Be. A song rooted in Lovecraftian mythology about summoning a demon from the depths of the ocean. And in this very song, there's a lyric that says, "Even death may die." A lyrical concept straight out of H.P. Lovecraft. And synchronicity, I see it as I'm reading this book, Sapiens, by who I call the prophet of the Antichrist, the globalist prophet, Yuval Noah Harari. And in this book, he talks about a project known as Project Gilgamesh. And the purpose of Project Gilgamesh is to conquer death itself. A little bit of background on Harari's ideology and what he's attempting to sell you, the reader, on in this book. Harari believes that the soul is simply a figment of the imagination. And Harari believes that God, the idea of a universal creator, a conscious creating energy in the universe, is a figment of human imagination. There's some interviews that you can see on YouTube where Harari said, "Oh, God is dead. He just doesn't know it yet." He says so proudly and arrogantly. And this book, again, he attempts to convince you of that belief. Harari believes that our five senses are all there is. Information we gather through our five senses is the only reality worth exploring. And Harari believes that religion and spirituality, as I mentioned before, is delusional. These are delusions of the human mind. And Harari states that one of the purposes of religion and spirituality is to deal with this problem of death, this problem of our existence as we know it coming to an end, the existence of our material body and the existence of our personality coming to an end, the fate of death. And death, once again, this death of the personality and the physical body, is a fact of life that no one has been able to transcend, at least none that we know of. Of course, there's the Christian belief that Christ arose from the dead. The Christians profess resurrection of the body and the life everlasting in the world to come. That's part of a Christian creed. But other than that belief, most of us have never actually met someone who has risen from the dead, who's resurrected in the body. And there's a human longing for meaning in life and to understand, is death all there is? Is death truly the end? And one of the purposes of religion and spirituality is to accept death, to be at peace with oneself and how one has lived their life when the time of death draws near. And to accept that maybe death is not the end. And when a loved one passes, and when a loved one's life is come to an end, and we celebrate the life of a loved one at a funeral, that maybe it's not the end, that the spirit continues. Now, once again, though, Harari, he believes this is all just nonsense. And Harari believes that nonsense and superstition caused by religion, in his eyes, is a great disease of humanity. It's a great disease that perpetuates war and cruelty and destruction. And Harari believes there's a much better quest or much better method in the quest for objective truth, that being science. And with Project Gilgamesh, we have scientists that are attempting to solve that problem of death and have humans reach immortality, or as he calls it, amortality. As with Project Gilgamesh, life would not be able to be taken through old age, but one would have to kill or extinguish a life through an act of murder or through an accident of disaster. So there's this quest for immortality. And this is congruent with other elite writings. Ray Kurzweil writes of an attempt to preserve the personality, the false self, eternally by downloading the consciousness to a computer, to a mainframe. And here we have Harari writing about Project Gilgamesh, which is preserving the life of the physical body and then also the personality as well. And this book, Sapiens, it is loaded with doublespeak. Harari writes again about the horrors that humanity commits on each other, yet he's an advocate for depopulation. He is a Darwinist who advocates that some of us are more worthy of life than others, and it's best for those others not to be here because they're useless in his eyes. So, in his writings, again, like the writings of many other global elites, they are attempting to sell you on their ideas and sell you on their methods. So here he's wanting to sell you on the acquisition of immortality through science. And he's here to sell you on science as the best possible religion, the best possible belief system to ground your faith in. Now, what he doesn't say explicitly is that the elites who intend to preserve their life and preserve their false self, their personality eternally, they don't intend to give that access to everyone. They intend to keep it for themselves. And in fact, the future that they envision for you and for me is a system, again, of servitude, of slavery, to eventually becoming a future where humans are obsolete altogether and extinguished, other than the elites. This world where the elites who have access to this technology to live eternally, to preserve their lives eternally, they rule a world where robots and machines take the place of the human caste systems that were underneath them. And part of how they go about doing this is they want to get your permission. They want to get my permission to move forward. And books like this, books like Sapiens, essentially attempt to do that. He presents the problems of humanity, and then they offer the solution. And the solution here is the religion of science and the technology that preserves our bodies and our psyches eternally. And this is direct heresy for one who believes in an eternal creator God and one who believes in the soul. And it's clear to me that someone like Harari has never had transcendental experiences. He's never had these experiences that connect one to a reality that goes beyond the five senses. Because when you feel that and when you experience that, you would never entertain these Darwinian ideas. And you'd never be afraid of death because you would know there's more to life. There's more to existence beyond our physical forms. Our five sense perception is a bubble and a prison, in a sense, that keeps us engaging on this low frequency. And the elites, the controllers, those at the top, they benefit from people only engaging from this five sense perception and believing that that is all there is. However, when you know that we are simply a point of consciousness, that we are a point of the God consciousness experiencing itself, experiencing creation and reflecting creation back, and there's a piece of our being that is, in fact, immortal as it was created, then there's no need to fear death. We have a piece of us that is meant to be here for a short period of time and go away. We have a personality that's meant to acquire experiences, to constantly shape and reshape, that's meant to go away. But then we have an eternal point of being that goes on and lives in a new form and goes back to that creative source, that goes back to the Creator, and maybe goes back after many, many lifetimes and many, many experiences past our physical body. But the global elite don't want to let you know that. They want you to be stuck in your five senses, and then when you're afraid of death, when you're afraid of this reality of our life experience, and they offer a solution of how you can avoid that, then they're hoping you're going to bite. They're hoping you're going to go along with their program. And once the program shows up, when it's realized, and if you're not in the clique, if you're not in the club, guess what? You're going to die anyway. And they are going to be the ones that pull the trigger. So I find it of immense value to hear what they're saying, to see the world through their eyes, see what they believe, and make the decision whether I accept it or reject it. And I do reject the agenda and these ideas that Yuval Noah Harari is attempting to sell through this book, Sapiens. I'm a believer and a knower that there is a creator God, and there's more to life than these five senses. And when you know that truth, the truth shall set you free. So I'm going to end this transmission. Be strong, be well, and I wish that you have connection with divine presence and are able to feel a connection that extends beyond your five senses, so that you are forever free of these programs that attempt to enslave you through the fear of death. And know that death is something that is not to fear, but is simply the closing of a chapter of life and the start of a new one. Be strong, be well, and I will see you on the other side, my friends.